All right, welcome guys to Money Matters. My name is Madhura and I'm your host for this show. Thank you so much once again for joining us. And today is episode 14. And I think many of you are very, very excited for today's topic. I know a lot of you were curious with the title that we had put out for our live stream today. So thank you so much once again for joining. Money Matters is a live stream show that that I host personally, where we aim to bring consistent and valuable content for people so that they will be more inspired and empowered to start taking charge of their finances, not just personally but in terms of their businesses as well. So we will actually have a variety of topics where we are discussing everything and anything under this topic called money. And like last week we had a topic on budgeting where it is a bit more technical, teaching you guys how budgeting works and all of that. But most of the weeks we are actually featuring our very, very wonderful guest speakers who have very, very valuable experiences to share. I think a lot of us can learn from each other's mistakes and experiences, and by doing so we won't have to go through that same process, and we can save a lot of time in terms of achieving success. And money is not a standalone topic. It affects a lot of aspects in terms of not just our life but our country, the society, and so much more. And today's topic, taxation, is something that every citizen is affected by, in terms of whether you pay it or because we are paying it, and eventually the infrastructure that is prepared for us in this country is being done using that money. So it does play a huge role in terms of every human being's life in a way. So that is the topic that we are going to be talking about today. But if you're watching already, a small favor that I would like to ask you guys is, please do share this link on your social media. If you're watching on YouTube, please share the link on your social media or Facebook as well, so that we can reach out to anyone and everyone who is interested in learning more about finances and start making changes in this area. So I think this is episode 14, but we have done like so many different episodes. We have done topics on achieving time and money freedom. We have done on investments, sustaining your business, making the transition from being an employee to an employer. So there's so many different topics that we have discussed. You guys can check out the Facebook page for Simply Empowering, or Itibu's YouTube channel to kind of access these episodes and learn more about it as well. And before we go on to introducing our guest speaker for today's topic, I'd just like to let you guys know that in 2 weeks' time, I am personally organizing a workshop on personal finance. So if you're somebody who's a youngster and you don't actually haven't really thought much about money and what to do about it, on 6th of June, I am organizing a 4-hour workshop alongside my colleague, Miss Joyce Lim, on how we can get started with regards to managing our personal finance. So if you guys are interested, you can contact me later and I will share more details with you guys about it. So once again, the topic today is super duper exciting. Taxation is a form of investment? Question mark. I think when I was speaking to our guest speaker about this, I was so mind blown by our conversation that I decided we have to talk about this in our session. So let me introduce our guest speaker for today. Our guest speaker is Mr. Krishnan, who is the managing partner of NK Associates. He has almost 30 years of experience in this industry, guys, from audit. He started off with audit. Now he runs his own firm called NK Associates, which doesn't just have a one office or whatnot. He has a HQ in Puchong, but he also has two other branch offices in Perak, which is very, very impressive. He has a 45 person workforce, which is, I know it's very hard to even lead a team of 4 people. 45, I can't even imagine it. So not only can we learn about taxation and all of that from him, I think we can learn a lot from him as an entrepreneur and how he has managed to make this journey happen and how he has managed to become so successful in a way. So at any point today, feel free to ask us your questions. Feel free to ask our guest speaker the questions, so that you really get the most out of this session and his personal experiences. So without further ado, let me invite Mr. Krishnan onto the stream. Hi, Mr. Krishnan.
Hi, Madhura. Hi, welcome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Hi, everyone.
Yes,
very good
thank
afternoon.
you so much. I'm so excited to have you here. I think the audience can learn a lot from you guys, and I'm very, very excited to run today's session. So I think, Mr. Krishnan, just a brief intro about yourself. Like, where did you start? What's your background? How did you become Mr. Krishnan from NK Associate in a way?
Yes. Actually, I'm I'm an accountant with a engineering background. I started my career in engineering way back in 80s after my schooling.
Yes.
Like what we are going through now, the economic turmoil due to virus, COVID-19 or whatnot, it's a similar things. Of course, we have a year 90s crisis and as well as a mid 80s crisis. So I was one of the very young boy caught in the mid 80s crisis way back, 40 years, 40, 50 years back, about I think 30, 40 years back, yes. And there is a time, that time mainly due to the commodity crisis and so on, the economic performed extremely bad. And I was, I did my civil engineering and I couldn't find anything. And construction one of the first to hit due to the recession. Then I changed my profession from engineering to accounting, thought of a better future.
Okay.
Since then, the journey in accounting starts. And once I graduated from University of Malaya, then in a Bachelor of Accounting, I did my accounting degree and started my career in a firm, accounting firm, and worked for about 8 years plus. And thereafter started my own practice in year 2000. So this again in the 2000, there's a lot of hoo-ha because of the millennium bugs. There's a different bugs than now, virus. That time was, people are worried about when the 1999 changed to 2000, the computer going to crash and whatnot. So that is the year I started my practice, and my God, the time goes so fast. It's already 21 years.
Yes.
And yes, I've grown along the line, learn along and unlearn as well, and as you spoke about, we have about 45 hour staffs and fairly, I could say, fairly boutique firm in accounting sectors.
I think personally for me you are an inspiration because personally I also do accounting and the way when I saw your team and how you have managed to grow your organization is definitely an inspiration for me to also strive for something like that. So thank you so much for taking your time. I know it is, if you guys don't know, guys, this is the worst time I could possibly get somebody who's involved in the tax and audit industry because it is the busiest time ever. But Mr. Krishnan was very kind to give his time for our session today. So thank you so much, Mr. Krishnan, for joining us.
No worries. Yeah, thank you.
So as usual, whenever I start Money Matters, I always ask my guest speakers some of the icebreaker questions that I love to ask them. So I'm going to ask you my first one, which is, if let's say you could time travel back and correct any one mistake that you have done in your life to improve what is going on currently, what would be a thing that you would like to address?
I wish I have that opportunity. By then, let's share my thoughts.
Yes, don't we all?
Okay. Given an option, if I need to go back to year 2000, obviously not to change the career, go back to 85.
Yep.
So let's say if I can go back to year 2000 when I started my career in accounting, my practice in accounting, I could have pretty much started with more of a standardization of the processes and documentation. So as now we feel it, having a proper documentation, processes and equipment in place, that help a lot in the work from home model. Or work from anywhere for that matter, not only your home, probably sitting in the Starbucks or sitting in your car or while enjoying your holiday, So moving forward, that could be the culture. By then, but then to implement it effectively, you need a system in place, tools to roll out and proper documentation instructions. And it's always easy to start when you're small. By then, when we are small, we always think we are very small. And that's meant for big boys.
Yes.
But you don't realize that when you grow, always you think you are small. And because it's good to think that way when you're looking at someone bigger, because big or small is very relative. You have to compare to something to see whether you're small or big. Then we don't take that initiative. So if I given a choice on options, I would have started from the day one when I started my practice with a proper system. We start with some system by then of this kind of facing this kind of situations. So I wish I have done that. But Now we have to do it with much faster rate and a pace because we don't have a choice now. Even yesterday's
Yes.
announcement by the government, on the restrictions on the workplace and whatnot, with MCO3, like it or not, we have to embrace into this environment much faster. So probably the virus has accelerated these processes.
Yes,
In
I
a way to
think it
say.
has improved our learning rate so much more. If not, we would have taken another 10 years to adapt to this, but it has really
Yeah.
made us catch up. That is a very, very nice point in a way. Because, like, you are so right. I also used to think at many things that there's no need for standardization. It is just like, oh, we just go with the flow. We are too small
Yeah.
to be putting in processes. But you're right. If we don't do it now, there's a higher chance you won't do it later. Which is also true in money, right? Like we say, like if you can't manage your 100 ringgit, there's no way you can manage your 1 million ringgit. So it's the same concept, I feel. But I have another question for you. This is a mistake that we are talking about. How about one rule that or principle that you strongly follow when it comes to finances and money and all of that?
Okay. Of course, when you talk about accountants, we are, whenever we tell the bad news to the client, bad news means a negative part of it. They say, why you always talk about it? By then, I have to preempt you of the what if goes wrong.
Yeah.
Rather than I talk nice things to you, I rather talk the negative things to you, so that in case the things goes wrong, you do aware of it. So in accounting, one of the concepts religiously follow is a prudence concept.
Yep.
Okay, prudence on accounting. Prudence means careful, watch out and careful. So in accounting conventions, prudence means, simply to say, if you think you're going to make profit, don't show. But if you think you're going to make loss, then you show. So let's have a bad news, then the good news comes. So having that, I would strongly advise, be prudent in money management, meaning to say you must know what you are looking for and the risk you are taking.
Yep.
As everybody knows, I think it's a common, higher the risk, higher the return can be. Or if the higher the return, then higher the risk may associated with that. There's no such thing as free lunch, and when you say you can make a triple the money of your investing, then you know what you're going into,
Yep.
when
Yep.
ordinary business giving a return of 10% or 20%, and FD only giving you 3 to 4%, and if you're getting a triple of that money, then you obviously what you're going into.
Yep.
And if with your own savings, well and good. Worst come to us, you lost your savings. I mean, again, I got talking about negative point of view.
Yep.
It's still in your safe zone.
Yes.
If I'm talking I rate high risk investments. But you must have one golden rule if you're going into high risk investment: never ever borrow and invest.
That is a very,
Because
very important
never
point.
ever borrow and invest in high risk investment. If
Yep.
anything turn out to be good, well and good. If not, there are many until now crawling, have not really back to where they were used to be.
Yep.
So be careful with it. It's okay to go slow. By then, if you fall, sometimes the fall can be very hard.
Yep.
If you take high risk investment with the savings, if the savings is okay, worst come to us, only you lost your savings, it's okay. You save back and move on with life. But with the
Yep.
borrowings, then you're answerable to the borrower, and it can cause it can be a nightmare.
That is so true. Well, agreed. I like that you said that. For me personally, when I was a student, I think that was one of the terms that was very intriguing, prudence. And I also see it in terms of like, like our emotions and all. We cannot be overly happy or overly sad with regards to anything. Having a balanced view helps us to manage things much better. So I like
Yes.
that you shared that. So going into our topic today and my extremely controversial topic of is taxation, a form of investment. I think a lot of people don't even entertain that question. A lot of us see it as a pain, something that they are forced to do and they don't like to do, and it's not fair and all of that. What is your personal perception with regards to taxation, and what do you think about this term? Is taxation as a form of investment?
Yeah, I agree with you. Tax is toxic for many people.
Yes.
No doubt about it. Not only Malaysians, in any country, any citizens for that matter.
Yes.
Not only citizens of the country, but also government for that matter. When the other government imposing a tariff on our goods, so the tariff is a taxing on the domestic law. So also it's a toxic for the other country because they couldn't export, or the exports become more expensive.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not individual matters, but it's a global phenomena. Tax is a toxic.
Yes.
By then, as what people said, even in a debt, you still have to pay. Somebody passed away, still his tax has to be handled.
Yes.
So meaning to say, we can never get out of tax. So let's manage it now.
Yep.
Something you cannot get out of it, then you have to manage it.
Yep.
Like people fall sick. So then it's not an issue of, if they want to get well. Now the issue is how they manage their illness well.
Yep.
Similarly, we have to manage our taxes.
Yes.
You can never get out of it, and be realistic about life. So
Agreed.
so this taxes is like every jurisdictions have a taxes, whether high or low. It's depend on the country's wealth, country's priority, and and whatnot. What they want to give, what they don't want to give.
Yep.
So the way I look at the tax is, of course, as a citizen, everybody has to pay the taxes from the income they earn. Government don't tax based on the head. They only tax based on the income they earn. Not a family got 5 people, then everybody pay X amount of money. No, that doesn't work that way.
Yep.
If the family of the person or the company earns money, then they pay the taxes. If they fall within the taxable bracket or taxable regime. So having said that, then why I look at that, so as an investment, of course, we can also look at it as a cost, or as a waste, or as a toxic, whatever we can call it.
Yep.
Let's say I take it to another dimension, other than taxes. When you talk about somebody want to improve himself, then what you do, you buy a better clothings, you go for makeup, or you get better vitamins or whatnot, to stay healthy. So you spend money. Am I
Yep.
right? You spend money. So what do you call that? Is it a toxic expenses? No, because you spend the money to improve yourself. Am I right? So you
Yep.
look at it, investment in you to increase your capital value.
Yep.
That's how we look at it. So we don't look at it as a waste. You buy a better vitamin so that you stay healthy, and you spend less on the medical expenses later. Or you can do more work, then improve your productivity and return. So that's why you spend that money. So that money is wisely spent to improve your ability to produce more. So it's investment. So you don't look at it as expenses or costs.
Yep.
Similarly, company spending money on their people, hiring people, buying machineries and whatnot. But they don't look at it as expense point of view. They look at it as investment point of view. The more they spend on their people, the more they spend on the better equipment, and softwares. So it improves the productivity. Again, they don't look at it as a toxic expenses, or they don't look at it as expenses per se. They say, I invest my people. Why? I send them for training. So the training is not the cost. They say it's investment on the people, human capital, to improve their productivity.
Yep.
Then why we are looking at tax differently? So when it's also money to be paid out, so that's how I look at it. So everybody spend this money to improve their capital ability, to improve the ROI, return on investments. So on the tax point of view, the way I look at it, when we pay taxes, of course, one is what I get personally, how I benefit personally, irrespective of the government's role, and second, the government's responsibility managing our taxes. Government need money to run their machineries, invest in the new infrastructures, maintaining the current infrastructures, and so on, so that the citizens can have a safe environment to live, to work, to move around, and whatnot. But then where the money comes, obviously from the taxpayers who are actually contributing part of their income in the form of taxes.
Yep.
Is it? So when we contribute that taxes, actually the investment we are making through government, for the government to provide a better work environment, better government machineries in order for us to interact and do businesses. and as well as providing public amenities, for the children to go to school and whatnot,
Yes.
medical facilities. So in a way, to say our investment indirectly contributing to that.
Yep.
If we don't pay the taxes, then everything has to be paid for. Then would that be fair? Is a question of fact. So nobody has to pay the taxes, but everybody pay for it. Then where we stand,
Yep.
it's a question of fact. So we are
Yep.
paying to the government in a way so that government can use that money to improve all these infrastructures and whatnot. By then, on the personal point of view, you see, when you go for financing, or people want to see your credit standing, obviously they want to see whether you're making profits or not. Of course, somebody are making profits, somebody earning a good salaries, that shows their credit standing is better, and where, of course, accordingly, based on the tax legislation, you have to pay the taxes based on your income you earn, let it be business profits or employment income or any other sources of income. And that will demonstrate your credit standing. When I say improve your credit standing, means improve your wealth. So the money you spend in the taxes is actually improve your capital value. As I say, I going back to the same analogy I mentioned just now. The vitamins you buy and eat.
Yep. Yep.
It's the same thing. Taxes you are paying is improve your capital value by having a better credit standing. So when
Yes.
you go for loans or your investments and that required funding from the investors and whatnot, they will look at your profit as well as your taxes you pay,
Yep.
and that will translate into their confidence in you. It also in the customer's mind or supplier's minds. Let's say we talk about business perspective. Suppliers may want to look at your financials and see whether you're making profit and you're paying taxes.
Yep.
If you're continuing making profit, though you don't pay any taxes unless you get some exemptions or incentive, it also raises a suspicious mind whether you are complying with the taxing law.
Yep. Yep.
Similarly, the customers as well. Whether you have a good credit standing for me to buy from you, or rather you're going to be continue there to support me. More so long-term contracts, which are entering into contracts for 5 years or 6 years and whatnot.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
you're going for franchise licensing and whatnot. They want to look at the ability, and among others also looking at your financial statements and the taxes you are paying, which is
Yep.
shown in the financial statement. So if you look at along with that perspective, obviously I see the money spent is to get a add value for the future. ROI, better ROI. That's what
Yes.
investment is all about. When you invest in something, you expect a return in the future. So for somebody, let's say employed person, he paying the taxes, or even having a burger store, for example, I've come across many of them having a small stalls. Not to say their income is not taxable regime. They obviously is in the taxable regime. Maybe of the awareness, they don't have a proper awareness or record keeping. They don't go and declare their taxes. So
Yeah.
when go to bank, and the bank, they can pay the installments. They are able to pay the installments. By then, how to demonstrate to the bank that the ability to pay. At that time, they want to buy the property or vehicle and whatnot, even going for business loan for that matter.
Yep. Yep.
The financial institutions want to assess their financial position, and they couldn't produce those documents.
Agreed.
And you're fully aware documents does matters. And all this will evidencing their law compliance, and again will enhance their value. And if the documents can speak, then they can talk less. If you don't have the documents to speak, then you have to talk more.
Yes. Yes. That means
and
more.
then what happens? The more they talk, the more misguide themselves or misdirect themselves.
Agreed. I love that you shared about it's actually investing in terms of like just how we spend on everything else, and we call it investing in ourselves. This is also that kind of an investment. I have had clients who will come up suddenly and say all these years they have been telling why I have to pay so much tax and all of that. One year they'll be like, I must pay a lot of tax this year, and I'm like, why the sudden change in your approach? Then they'll be like, oh, I want to get a loan, but the loan officer says I can't because it doesn't show that I've been making much money and all of that. And I'm like, okay. So I believe that you just, whatever you make, and if you keep like you said, the documentation topic, which we'll talk about more after this. If we just do it correctly, uh, it is worth the investment in a way, because it does build up other areas that most of us are not even aware of, to be honest. So we were speaking about documentations and all of that. So I feel like tax is an area that a lot of people are very confused with, or they always feel like they are overpaying, or they are not. There are people, because they don't keep proper documentations and all, they are not able to pay the an amount that they could have paid, and they end up paying more because most they did not retain any of the documents and all of that. So for somebody who has decided, okay, this is a, I would like to look at it as an investment, and I would like to do my taxes in the right way, what are the things you would suggest for that person to start making into processes that they can standardize in a way?
You see, in order for them to have a correct statement of income, I mean, we are talking about tax reporting perspective, or in their financials, documents play a major role. That's the beginning of everything. Your transactions start with your documentation. Your documents. When you buy for example, a laptop, they could just give you nowadays thermal papers. Just even you buy a 5,000 or 10,000 MacBook. You go to the store, they're selling it, they just print out on a small sheet and give it to you. It's a thermal paper. If you go and keep it, if you leave it on your dashboard 2 days, that you can't see anything out of it anyway, because of thermal paper. So then you come back to how to keep these documents in this kind of situations. So of course you can make a copy and keep it, So it's very difficult for you to do a bookkeeping, accounting without having a document. So you have to religiously follow the rule to that every documents I must collect it and compile it and file it accordingly. Or worst come to us, at least put it in your on box, on drawer or envelope, and if you think you're going to fade away because of the thermal paper, then make a copy of it. And nowadays, of course, without saying, the cameras, the phones have a cameras, not one, not two, not even 3 cameras.
Yes.
And they take every other photo except the photo of their documents.
That is so true. Oh my God. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So at least it's safe there. Nowadays they have a cloud storage and whatnot. And one fine day you can also pick it up from there if needed. It is not an extremely difficult task to do. With the current technology, but matter of you want to do it or not. Like one birthday function, they can take hundreds of photos. Even though after that they don't even look at it, and God knows the value. By then, this important documents, that we don't take a photo and keep it. In the worst scenario I'm talking about, keeping the hard copy is one thing. Because even the taxing, inland revenue look at beyond documentation. You have a document. They also look at whether the documents make sense, that transaction take place. So the documents is extremely important for you to claim deductions. If now, as everyone aware that you're under the self-assessment regime since the year 2000, whereby the taxpayers to declare the correct taxes themselves and deem assess on their declared income. So what the income tax expect, they are law obedient and they know what they are doing it, and they're keeping the relevant records. And if they have been picked up for the tax audit, so they have to furnish the documents for the various reliefs they claim, for example, donations or health insurance, or even computers they buy, whatever the relief they claim. And at that time, if you don't produce it, then it'll be added back. Then you start scolding the tax officers and say, why you are adding me back? By then what you can do is just complying with the law only. The law required to produce, you have to produce. You see, so unnecessarily you ended up paying extra taxes with the penalties and whatnot. That is on a personal tax basis. By then, if you're talking about the company, for that matter, they started small traders and whatnot. I think bigger companies possibly they have accounting staffs, or they have clerical staffs to do. By then, small traders or people start with business. I think they have to instill this discipline from the day one itself. Like how if they're only careful as how they keep their handphone.
I love your handphone analogies, to be honest.
So then I think everything goes well,
Yes.
So they love the handphone. They want to keep the handphones. Even IC also they don't bother, but the handphone they careful. So So if they can only use that fraction of that kind of attitude towards the document, I think everything will go well in life.
Agreed, agreed. And I think a lot of people are actually not aware that keeping your documents is not a like 1 year thing. Actually, you need to, if I'm not mistaken, 7 years. Is that correct?
Yes, under the law, you are required to keep for 7 years. Of course, the
Yep.
tax audits can go for 5 years.
Yep.
Normally, by then you are required to keep for 7 years. But in a certain circumstances, the illegal revenue can go beyond 7 years. But it's good to keep at least for 7 years. By then, I think the digital era, there is no more issue. You can keep for 100 years or so.
That is true.
And more so nowadays they ask for the copies, meaning you can transmit those documents through digital format, not very much of the physical document like those days. So the inland revenue in that case pretty much okay. You have to thank them for most of the time they accept the copies transmitted through the digital format. And and now with MCO and whatnot, they also work from home. It is almost 100% now we are transmitting through that form, unless otherwise, So, so having that, I think physical document, yeah, you need to keep it, but it's not difficult to convert or transform that into digital format and just save it. And nowadays, the investment into the hard disk or cloud storage is not that costly, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yes.
So somebody come and tell that I cannot afford storage. By then, storage space in a cloud or hard drive. But then, if you look at your lifestyle, you can spend, hundreds of ringgit in Starbucks. Then where they are coming from. It's just that the importance given.
Yes. I think if one thing I'm getting from your sharing is definitely get your priorities right, guys. That's what he's saying.
Yes.
You can invest into these things. I feel like if anyone who is a small business starter, you have just started your small business, do get yourself educated into these things. And it is your responsibility to get yourself educated. There's nobody to come and save the day. I feel like that's a lot of there's an issue that a lot of tax people and all face, right? We always think or even accountants for the matter, it's like people expect us to go and tell everyone exactly what needs to be done, but the truth is, if as a business owner we should know what needs to be done as well, which brings me to the next question, right? So if we do have like I'm running a business and I have a tax agent, or I am the accountant or a tax agent and I'm working with clients, what should that whole working relationship be like? What are the things we can expect and what are the things we shouldn't be expecting and should be working on it more on by ourselves? What should that relationship be like?
People say, in your life you must have one good doctor, one good lawyer, one good accountant, probably plumber as well,
Yes.
Because sometimes they may nightmare at home and your pipes doesn't work and whatnot,
Yes.
So when you go and see a doctor, you may have a family doctors, they call it, so you go to and see the doctor and having hundreds or even thousands of patients. So do you expect the doctor to remember everything of your problem? So when you see doctor say, nurse, bring the card, the patient's card. For him, you are just a patient. You can be a buddy, you can be a friend, but at that moment, you are patient.
Yep.
And still, you'll ask the nurse to bring the card.
Yes.
Why? Because you don't remember everything about your health history. Of course, nowadays you may use the laptop and record it in the laptop or his computers to have a program. By then, again, he'll open your file in his computers and start to see your history.
Yes.
And say, oh, okay, your last trip was this, and you took these medicines, and how is it? Then why you again? No, doctor, I didn't take my medicines, or you're not working, and whatever it is. Then you prescribe new medicine. Then you leave the room and you'll forget you and continue the next patient.
Yes. Agreed.
Because if he take you into his life, then he'll become another patient.
Yep.
Because you start, then you got to start to worry about a patient's problem, then he'll become another patient very soon.
Yes.
So then similarly on the accountants as well, we can only prescribe medicines, but you have to take the medicines correctly, So, it's very common to say my accountants never advise, he never tell me, or and whatnot when they're in the trouble. By then, your business is your baby. You must know. various compliance with the law. It's not a rocket science law anyway. It's a simple rule to follow. And if you only put some importance into it, like the product they sell, they always research about the product, the market segment, the industry, various things they do a research about it. The people they're hiring, they also research about the people they're hiring. They do everything else. By then, about this, they don't do anything, so that they can blame someone. But they must take it personally as well. Even though the accountants prepare or the tax agents prepare documents for them, they must understand what is it all about. I'm not talking about interpreting the tax legislation, but how the mechanics works.
Yep.
They must understand that. Then I think they can have a more fruitful discussion with the accountants, rather than they always tell the accountants. I come across many of the clients. They say, you do what is deemed necessary. Then I say, what do you mean I do what is deemed necessary? It's your business. What you got? I mean, or not? Meaning to say, I do deem necessary. By then, you must know what I'm doing also. Please sit and listen first. What I'm saying,
Yes.
Then you take a position. Then you make a well-informed decision.
Yep.
So they must make a well-informed decision, having those informations and advices.
Yep.
And do more reading if it's required. At least on the surface. And then I think they're well aware of the even when the accountants or tax agents or send materials to them, they can read and digest what it's all about. Or even the budgets is announced, look at it and whatnot. So they must look at all this legislation and part and parcel of their doing business, and not isolate themselves. So even when they're talking to the accountants, easy for them to understand what they're talking about, and they make a well-informed decisions. Like when you build your house, you hire an architect, and you go and do some research on the various fittings, furnitures,
Yep.
the marbles and so on,
Yep.
and probably roofing systems for the water, flow and whatnot. Then after you study, you have some knowledge. When you talk to your architect or engineer for your house renovations or building new house, I think you can have a more fruitful discussion.
Yep.
Rather than take whatever they say, and only thing when the things go wrong or not in the right direction as what you think, then you start blaming everyone else.
I love that you put that analogy of the doctor and literally everything else. And I think many people do take the effort to do our research and all of that for other things. But when it comes to the core things in business, which is like the accounting or the taxation and all of that, they tend to ignore that part, which is so true. I think the most important thing we can do is educate ourselves and just learn something about it. And yesterday, actually, I was actually doing a workshop for a few accountants. So we had about 15 accountants who are going through how they can complete full set of accounts. So it's not just for entrepreneurs. It is a skill that any basic human being can have, which is to be able to go and research about things, figure things out, understand things, and then find a solution to it. I feel it's a very, very valuable skill to have, and I think a lot of our audience also agree with what you have been sharing so far.
Something which you cannot come out of it, then you have to pick it up and learn yourself and keep it. So like about health, you have to know something about health. Yep. And you have to know something about banking process. So then why looking at the tax as a toxic subject matter, I don't even want to touch. Somebody receiving a letter with income tax logo, they already get worried. Nobody they like to that's the last logo they want to see.
Yes. Yes.
But I think they have to come out of that phobia.
Yep.
So if they can prepare themselves mentally and know about it, then I think you can close the gap of expectation in the knowledge. That's important.
That is so true. If anyone does have any questions, please do ask. This is a chance you guys have to ask your questions. If not, I think I would personally like to just ask if we are to wrap up today's topic and all of that. One important takeaway that everyone who's watching can basically remember. What would it be, Mr. Krishnan?
So, of course, on the business perspective for taxing, we are covering all this while. I think, again, you touched on the entrepreneurship and earlier, the entrepreneurs' mind I would say like, visible, invisible comes and goes, they want to test and try everything, and they are risk takers, so everybody want to be successful. Everybody want to have a company like a Facebook or Google or Tesla and whatnot, or they
Yep.
want to be somebody like a Mandela and whatnot, in their life. By then, just take it everything at a moderate in life, so that you don't get stress out. So if you take everything at a moderately drink a coffee, moderately drink a tea, moderately drink a water, everything take it as it is, then life don't get too complex.
Yep.
And as I say, even improvement in the company, like what they call in a Kaizen Japanese, you do small improvement, but continue improvement. But you start to do immediate big steps, that's where the problem starts. People cannot take that big steps immediately.
Yep.
So if you do anything moderate, but continually you do it, let it be business and whatnot. And I think, it's a long road, but obviously you can achieve what you want to achieve. Even like a current situations with the COVID-19 and virus and so on, everywhere. But if you take life not serious, I mean, we have to be serious about health, yes, no doubt about it. But then again, don't get too worried so much that it ended up with another problem. So,
Yes.
Because we have to move on life and manage it accordingly. Once you start managing it and managing it moderately, I think life can be more meaningful, and you can achieve what you want to achieve.
Yep. That is a very, very wonderful conclusion, I feel. I think a few of our speakers that we have had on Money Matters actually do point that out. It's about managing and taking things in moderation. It is actually the key when it comes to finances and whatnot. So thank you so much, Mr. Krishnan, once again for taking
You're
your
welcome.
to share with us. Really, really appreciate it. If you guys are watching, please do drop a comment for Mr. Krishnan as to what you learned from today's session, so that we can see what was your takeaway and whether this session was beneficial. And if you're watching, do drop a like on the video as well, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube. It will really, really help us to reach out to more people. So truly appreciate you guys joining us today. Once again, Mr. Krishnan, thank you so much. I'm just going to do a closing. So I'm going to remove
Can
you for
I
now.
thank you everyone for joining, and I wish you all everyone a safe and well weekend. Have a good day. Yeah, bye. Thank
Yep.
you, Madhura, for giving me a chance. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So that was Mr. Krishnan, guys. I loved today's session. I don't know about you guys. I definitely loved it. It's so many things that we can take away from the session. Do drop what is your learnings in our comments, so that we can share it to more people, and they will benefit from this as well. So you can continue watching Money Matters. We do this every Sunday at 3 p.m. and we have different topics. You have no idea how we can learn from many different people's experience. And I think today's topic ironically had a lot of anecdotes and analogies with regards to health. So next week we are actually going to be having a topic on health. So being healthy is so expensive. This is something I have heard a lot of people say. Probably I said it once also. And we are featuring our guest speaker, Miss Yap Hoi Ting, who is a personal trainer herself, and she works with a lot of clients who complain like this to her. So if you're somebody who has been struggling with being healthy like I have, and or also managing your finances, this session will give you a lot of insights on how both of these are related, and how you need to manage both to be able to improve both, which is something I actually did not want to accept for a very long time. But recently I'm coming to learn that both of these areas of our life is very, very important, and we need to handle both and manage both to be able to improve and achieve success in a way. So please do join us. I'm going to leave the in the comments the registration form for our next Money Matters episode. So please do go click on the link and sign up now itself, so that you can get a personalized reminder from me for the session. And if you'd like to check out Mr. Krishnan's services and his organization NK Associates, please do check out his website. I'm going to drop the website link in the comments as well, so that if you are looking for services like that, if you're an SME who needs auditing, tax, and all of these services, please do get in touch with him, so that you can address these areas in a way. So once again, thank you so much. Have a good weekend, guys. I know it's MCO 3.0, so please do stay safe. Take care of yourself. Drink a lot of vitamin C and all of that. And see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching, and please do like and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Do share this episode with your friends and family. And if you like this episode, leave us a review on our Facebook page, facebook.com/simplyempowering. Money Matters is where we aim to provide valuable content to inspire and empower you on your money matters. Thank you once again for watching this episode, and see you guys at the next one.